21. In attendance, Council President Wolf, Councilperson McNamara, Councilperson Bruger, Chair of the Legislative Committee, and Eric Fisher, Village Planner. So let's start with 1280.03, exempted signs that Mr. Fisher brought before us.
Thank you, Councilman Bruger. So this is what the Planning and Zoning Commission is currently working on. I wanted to get it in front of you because I expect that they should fully approve it by, they're not going to have another meeting until the first meeting in November. But I didn't see anything else that was on the agenda tonight, so obviously I wanted to, give you a little preview. Essentially, being that our code is a little aged from '89, there's a number of items in it that are not really kosher anymore as far as code is concerned. And signage is one of those, especially when we talk about political signs or any of these other type of free speech signs. And so you'll note with this, the P&Z Commission started really as an exercise to adjust 1280.03I, which was window display signs. And so that was their primary focus initially, where they were talking about window displays, much as you see at any major anchor tenant, Giant Eagles, grocery stores, where they have, where they use their aggregate window, like, a large window like this, and they put they put a semi-transparent sign that they have professionally made and they put on the back of it. So what they were doing is they were looking at it and they said, well, do we have issues with that, especially, with our current tenants? And the main issue was we didn't want people to just paper up newspaper type signs. They cut something or they self-make signs. So the commission went through and adjusted the items you see in there that are redlined in this case. Our original code said 10%, which is way too small. It doesn't match any other municipal codes in the region, and it's not reasonable in my professional view. So the P&Z Commission agreed, and they said, you know what, since we're talking about this, does that really bother us? What are the issues? And they said, do you want 50%? Do you want 20%? And I said, let's just make it 100, because we don't have an issue if somebody keeps it in good condition, puts a professionally made sign, and it's one message, and they have a commercial message, and they put it on the window.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit far from us, but was it Jerusalem down there? They want to put €2 for $5 on a big thing. I know they're a little bit out of our area, but that's the kind of thing we're talking about.
That's a solid deal, by the way. Arby's is 2 for $6.
So, and I would say in this particular case, what I advised them here was, hey, whenever we don't have a lot of planned districts here that we do, but generally when you have a large anchor tenant like Kroger's Giant Eagle that goes into one of these developments with retail, they've got these large windows in the front, they utilize them, it's generally written into the planned commercial code that, hey, it's okay, just keep it in good condition, throw them up there. And generally that's what drives a lot of these locations. Different municipalities have a different view of that, but in general, well, that's what you see. So that was the starting point. What ended up happening is that when we looked at this section as a whole, in the spirit of correction as we go through our code, what they noted was that there's a lot of other items that need correcting, as we discussed in there. And political speech, free speech, those particular items that are near and dear to everyone's First Amendment hearts are not up to snuff within our code. For example, under E, the political signs or posters, they give them 30 days. It's old code. You're not allowed to restrict people to 30 days for their political signs. They can keep them out there as long as they want, right? And they can keep their message up as long as they want. That's perfectly legitimate, perfectly legal, and has been thoroughly vetted by the Supreme Court of this great nation. Now, what you can regulate within free speech is time, place, manner items, right? So specifically, you cannot regulate the content, and you cannot specify different types of signs, but you can say, hey, you have to keep within a certain box, certain size. You can, we can definitively regulate it to one message, per sign, so we don't get sign clutter. For example, we don't want putting out 1,000 I love Obama signs, or any particular message you can think of, right? So you don't want those put out, and most communities would agree, we don't like the sign clutter on the lawn. One message generally the Supreme Court has agreed as suffices for any particular parcel. And we go further and say one sign per message, per parcel, per frontage, right? Because And this is, the code you see in front of you called non-commercial speech temporary signs. I copied direct from the PAL code. I wrote that code some 15 years ago, and it has held up just fine. Until about 10 days ago. So, when I say that, I talked to Jesse today, because I sent this to him, and there apparently was a Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling on that we could no longer regulate commercial versus First Amendment speech. That is unusual and that is odd. So we will be bringing this back to you a little bit pre-adjusted. Now we're pre-adjusting it for the P&Z as well. And so essentially,
What I'm hearing you say is, since people can put their whatever sign up, they can also put their Able Roofing did my roof for 30 days and get their discount.
as of a few days ago, that is the law of our multiple state region that the Sixth Circuit overlooks until it goes to the Supreme Court. There was a city in Michigan that got taken to task. They dealt more with realtor signs, where they were trying to regulate commercial speech. Now, generally speaking, in Ohio, the way we've handled realtor signs, as an aside, is that people are allowed a for lease or for sale sign. So it's not to, you can't say you can't have that. Now, New Albany makes an exception. You have to all look the same. Again, they're regulated in time, place, manner, even with the commercial speech, right?
Right.
And we have it, but they have to be removed 14 days
Correct.
after the sale, rental, or resale.
Correct.
Et cetera.
What the Sixth Circuit said a few days ago was, you can't regulate either, you have to regulate them the same. Now that completely, I will tell you, that completely goes against all precedent. And I would not be surprised, because commercial speech has always been a more regulated form of speech than free speech, right, than political speech, than any type of than message speech. So those items, so that's gonna be the interesting discussion going forward. That could take years, obviously, to work its way up to the Supreme Court from an appeal, whenever they decide to take it, if they take it. So what we'll do is we will put our collective heads together and talk about how we can language it so that we meet current requirements.
I'm gonna interrupt you again to ask you about H.
Yes,
Signs for the promotion of school, community service, or church activities for a maximum period of 15 days per activity. That is
that's scratched.
scratched, so that's not exempt, so people can't join us at the,
No, they can't.
No.
But this
That
is,
means that
this-
there's no limit
This
to it.
regulated.
oh, okay.
Right, this
okay.
said, if you did it, you could
I
only
was
have it within that.
making sure we could still wine and cheese, or, if people at the vineyard want to invite you for Easter service,
Correct.
I'm not good.
Correct, religious messages.
But I'm okay with them doing it.
Yeah, that was not my recommendation either, and I said, while we're in here, we'll just scratch a few of these. You'll see under D, it's the same type of idea where you have holiday type signage, things of that nature.
See, when I saw it scratched out, I'm like, but this is the following are exempt, so it's not exempt anymore?
No, regulated here, we couldn't,
Yeah.
we can't regulate it that way.
Gotcha.
So I simply bring this to you as a preview, so we had some discussion if there were any questions. You will see it again, because it's
Yeah.
on the precipice of being pushed up by P&Z, and we'd like to get it in front of council and obviously fix our code sooner than later.
All right, thank you, and with our time dwindling, I'm gonna move on here to 13/20/21, supplemental appropriations. We've talked about this off and on. Is this then the final list of the changes?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're curious as to what got more money and what didn't, it's on the ordinance. And then we just have, I'm gonna skip to 2021-29, third reading for groundskeeping landscaping to do the leaf removal.
We need to pass that as an emergency.
Let me see if that's listed as that way as such, but I can
It's
believe you
not
that
on
it
the
is.
agenda, but we do need to pass it as an emergency.
You are
because
correct.
The contract.
And I
needs to-
think I took that off because we were debating on adding that meeting, the last one, which would have made it, but it's not gonna make it.
Okay, so I will move to pass as an emergency.
Mhm.
And that's so we can actually get it in time for the leaves to get picked up, because I've been driving around town and I've seen leaves piling up.
Oh my good, you know what? If you guys got a second, I'm gonna fix it because it's not fixed at the top either, so.
Okay.
Oh,
Which brings us to the interesting one,
gonna be.
and now we're wandering off a little before the interesting one.
I'm right here.
I know you're right there. That is 14/2021. An ordinance to get some lawyers to look into us financing some debt.
Correct.
Yep.
And that's just for them to see how and if we can borrow against the TIF for the building and possibly the lakes.
Yeah, it involves not just our attorneys, it involves the financial advisors specific
Gotcha.
to municipal governance, who can independently give you guidance as far as what your options are, how much money you can take out, what instruments you can utilize, and who with you can utilize.
FPT is Frost Brown Todd.
Yeah, correct.
It's just, this is just their financial
This is
advisor
their arm.
arm.
Correct.
Okay, so I was about to say, why are we using these? These are current lawyers.
Right, but it's
These
a.
are current
it's-
legal people and we're just, since we already have a relationship with them, we're doing their finance arm instead of their.
And we have engaged them in the past. We have,
We use our bond counsel currently.
yeah,
And this is their arm of financial advisors, because the bond counsel, as he's noted to us, he can't specifically give you financial advice. There is the law says he cannot.
Yes.
Right.
You have to use a financial advisor.
I have a wife in banking who at one point did a little bit of insurance stuff. I was like, nope, I can't tell you. So if you just said no,
right. All of that.
all of that. That
And
got
this is
us
a first
through, yeah, and that's just the first reading. That's the sign changes, that's the legislation for tonight. Is there anyone here who has any legislation they would like to talk about or propose?
No.
All right, in that case, I'm going to move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned.